So I think it's good to just start with a welcome. So welcome friends from India and around the world. I know for sure there are participants from Portugal who have also joined us for this session. I welcome you all on behalf of the Museum of Christian Art. And we have a very interesting session today on conservation and restoration of mural paintings in the Church of Santa Monica and Museum of Christian Art. This presentation is being made by José Pestana. Some of us know José Pestana. We've met him during his various conservation works here in Goa. Welcome, José, and thank you for accepting our invitation to do this presentation through Zoom for our audiences. A little bit of an introduction on José. José is a conservator-restorer who is based in Lisbon, Portugal, and he's done several works in Goa at the Capella do Monte in Old Goa, as well as the Church of Santa Monica in between 2011 and 2015, and very recently in 2018, I think, right, José? You've done the conservation restoration of the arch in the museum, which is in a part of the Church of Santa Monica. During all these works, José has been part of a team that is a very interesting team, which comprised of Miguel Mateus, who is now passed away, but he was very involved in the major restoration of the Capella do Monte and the Church of Santa Monica. And we remember very dearly Miguel, who was very important part of this project here in the Church of Santa Monica, as well as the team from Goa, which is the Biko family, that's Agnello, and Glenn and Nixon, who have been an integral part of the conservation works, who have accompanied the works with José and Miguel through the years in the church. So I welcome you again, José, and
thank you.
I think it is a good time to start the presentation. Just before we start, a few requests to the participants is to kindly mute your audio, and you can keep your video on, but kindly mute your audio, and we will take questions at the end of José's presentation, which I think should the presentation should last roughly about half an hour. But, and after which any of your questions, any comments that you would like to make, any feedback you'd like to give, you can do that at the end of the presentation. So once again, I welcome all of you, and José, you can, over to you.
Okay. Good morning to everybody. My introduction is a kind of repetition because Natasha kindly talk about my interventions in Goa. So I will talk a little bit about the same. All interventions I have made I carry out in Goa were made together with my dear friend and colleague Miguel Mateus, who was a conservator-restorer specialized in polychrome sculptures, and the BICO team from Margão, Mr. Agnello Fernandes and his eldest son, Nixon, and later with the youngest, Glenn. All the works that I'm going to show you were started by me, and the intervention was also defined by me, but all of them were completed by Mr. Agnello and his team. The last one, the intervention at the museum's arch, was completely by Nixon and Glenn. Oh, sorry. In the beginning, I said good morning to everybody, but no, it's not true. It's good morning for Portugal because it's 10:30 in the morning here in Lisbon, but for Goa it's good afternoon. Okay. In the Church of Santa Monica, my intervention should focus on the mural painting of the Triunfal Arch and the graffiti, the cavi art. But I only arrived in Goa at the beginning of January 2012, and Miguel had arrived much earlier, and with Mr. Agnello, they were doing the survey of the pieces that need more urgent interventions, and one of them was the pulpit. Oh yeah, sorry. Yes, I think you remember the pulpit. It was in a very bad state of conservation, so they began. And you can see here in your left. So when I got there in the Santa Monica, oh, I saw this. The dismantling of the pulpit had revealed this beautiful mural paint. Like you, as you can see, the state of conservation, oh, I can't control the, yes. As you can see, the state of conservation was not very good. You had large gaps made, naturally made to place the pulpit. You had the plaster separated from its support and at risk of falling out, and many later plasters, mainly cement, like you see here. You can see here the space between the plaster painted and the stone support. Oh yes, it works. So after a dry cleaning, only to remove the dust and things like that, we proceed to the most important thing, to consolidate the existing one. And the first step was an emergency measures is to apply some plasters, what we call sacrifice plasters, is not the correct name in English. We call them sacrifice plasters because these plasters after are removed, but they are important in this moment to sustain the fragments we have. And after injections of a consolidant, PLEMAL, and before the consolidant, you apply normal injections of water and alcohol, 50-50, to clean the area, so to open space to the consolidant after the water with alcohol, and after the consolidant can make his work. And at the same time, of course, at the same time, we was removing the cement. Don't forget that this removal is violent. It's very, very violent, and that creates a lot of vibration in the painting. So the consolidation is very, very important. If not, we can lose the painting. After that, the cleaning was performed. We made the cleaning of the painting, and it was performed only with water. You can see an area already clean, and this in the left not cleaning yet. We have a dry painting, so it's not a fresco. Only with few colors. We have the red, the black line, the yellow, the ochre, and a lot of golds. This is the result of an analysis, chemical analysis I asked for the sheet metal for the golds. It was made by Hercules. It's a laboratory from the Évora University in Portugal. And as you can see, we have a gold with a very small percentage of silver, only 2.2 of silver. So it's a good gold. And sorry. And here the cleaning, all this area already cleaned, and you start to filling the gaps. First layer, second layer. You look, this beautiful fragment of the cavity is the only, now we don't have in the church. Of course, you have a lot of cavity in the main chapel, sacristy, etc. But in the nave of the church, you have only a few fragments. So this is the first level of plaster. And as you can see, the second level of plaster, so little by little. And this image, I think, is maybe 2 years ago, maybe 2014 or maybe 2015, because the chromatic reintegration and the replacement of the lost decoration, of the lost painting, was made a little bit later. You can see here already a little bit dirty. I recall you the church was officially opened in June 10, 2016. So I think this photo is maybe 1-2 years before the opening. And of course, you are facing a decorative painting with a repetitive motif. So all the areas without painting, you have replaced the painting. You have made a new one, because it was very strange to look at this painting while with these gaps, and it's easy to do because it's always the same motif, is a repetitive thing. Okay, I go back only to see a little. Okay, here. You can see that the cover door, the door is closed with stones. During our intervention, you remove some stones, and we found that the access to the pulpit appeared to be intact. So we took it little by little, stone by stone. You see here the stones, yeah. And the objective was to remove everything until we reached the bottom door to access the pulpit. And the bottom door should be here. You see here in the left, this one, near the base of the pulpit. You see, almost clean. We have removed all the stones. Look, this piece of wood with the door fittings, these holes to fit the door. But we start to have technical doubts. You are not engineers. You are conservators and restorers. So I asked Natasha for a meeting with an engineer or someone who could give us some ideas on what to do, continue or not continue with the removal of the stones. You didn't have a very concrete answer, so we decide to stop here in the area, I think, where the steps should start, here in the left. I think after that, the steps begin until the door. So what you can see in the church now is here, is only this. And now we go to the triumphal arch of the main chapel. As you remember, the whole arch was lime washed in the left, was white, totally white. So the first step was a stratigraphic investigation to understand what underlying decoration exists, what technique, and the most important, the state of conservation. You can see the red, the painting, and gold, like in the pulpits. I believe in the beginning, all the decorations of the church had a lot of golden leaf applied. So the lime was completely removed. Here you can see Mr. Agnello reconstructing lost reliefs, piece and relief lost. So with mud is trying to make a new one. And here Mr. Agnello making color tests. At the same time, I begin the cleaning. Once again, the cleaning was made only with water. So to the state of conservation, the repetitive painting of the arch was replaced. You see here, it's very difficult to have a reading of the painting. So we decided to replace the painting. But I asked Mr. Agnello, and remember in the beginning of my communication, when I saw you, I begin all these interventions, but I never finish because after 2 months, 3 months, I was obliged to return to Portugal. So, and in this case, I asked Mr. Agnello not to do the same and these two elements because that were in best condition, of conservation. Here, in these two elements, only a slight chromatic reintegration was carried out. And if you visit the church, you easily see these areas. Here, all the rest was remade, but these two are intact, and this area and this area. So you can call them the original because they are not so, the intervention wasn't so good. And we arrived to the esgrafitos, to the cave. It's very strange I'm talking here about the cave because cave is not a mural painting, but they are a mural decoration. And they are extraordinary. I think it's my passion. Is this the most beautiful thing I saw? I discovered in Goa in the beginning of the center in 2002. When I faced this technique for the first time, they are extraordinary. And here we are in the main chapel. Like you see, all the cave was covered by was either covered with layers of painting, industrial painting. So my job was to remove little by little with the scalpel. The biggest part was with the scalpel. I was obliged to use solvents only in the small parts. The same near the main altar, you also have cave, and they are under the tiles, these beautiful tiles. So the cave was the first decoration in the church. The tiles arrived later. And I believe, like happens in many other religious space, Catholic religious space in Goa, the first decoration was the cave. After, with more money, with more powerful, they begin with the tiles, the altars, but the first one is the cave. Here we are in the corridor leading to the sacristy. In the corridor, the cave was partially visible. We made the same in the sacristy. With the scalpel, remove the layers, but here in the corridor and in the sacristy, the covered layers was with lime, not industrial painting like in the main chapel. So it was more easy to remove. Here in the sacristy, you see the door little by little, and you have almost totally a complete decoration around the door. Here in the section you see, and look how beautiful is the graffiti continues in the arch in the end of the room, like here you see it's. And the other door, this is the door who goes directly to the entrance hall of the convent of Santa Monica. You have the modes and little by little removing the lines, so it's almost completed. And now you go to the last one. It was 2 years ago. We made that in December of 2018, yes. The arch in the museum. We continue, like Natasha said, we continue in the church of Santa Monica, but now in this area occupied by MoCA. In this arch, this beautiful arch, I saw him for the first time in 2002. You can see in the left, this photo is in 2002. It was possible to see the end of Misericordia, Mercy. And here it was in 2012, and 2012, 2017, and 2 years ago, it was that. It was a little shock, a drama. To pass an electric wire, a channel was open and the painting was cut. In the opposite side, it was 2012, only a plastic tube was placed here. As you can see, the state of conservation wasn't very good. You had a whitewash, a lime, you have a lot of gaps in the plaster and in the chromatic layer, and dust you can see, like here you can see the support of the stones, and a lot, like in the pulpit, a lot of cement and other later plasters. But this attention is important. You found cement only in the face of the arch. In the interior of the arch, you didn't find any cement. So, like in the pulpit, the first thing was consolidate and removing the later plasters and the cement. And you see this area of cement. When we removed, we found these metallic elements, nails. You found a lot of nails in this painting. So first step, removing the cement. This is Nixon, because he's stronger than me. Remove the cement, and after applying the first layer, lime, sand, clay, and a little bit of straw. And at the same time, like in the pulpit, to control the vibrations, consolidation of the fragments. And here, in this painting, you had very small fragments, so you use acrylic solution, acryl 33, 50% in water. And here, I don't know if you can see, you have what we call these sacrifice plasters. These plasters only to take the fragments after. In the end, you remove that, only to make a good consolidation. So you can see the face already clear of cement, and with the feeling of the gaps carrying on. And this is charity, caridade. You had a lot of lime drops. And these lime drops was removed with a scalpel. it was maybe the most difficult phase. It's a very small area, but it's very, very difficult because you are facing a dry painting, is not a fresco. So a bed removal can also bring together with lime, can also bring the chromatic layer. So it was a very controlled moment, but you have arrived to remove to this lime. And after a test, how can I say, a color resistance test with water, and it was fine. The chromatic layer had no problems of consolidation or fixation. It was fine. So the cleaning only with water. Here in the right, you can see this a lot of little gaps made by little nails. You can imagine during the commemoration, during the feats, okay, you must decorate the church, let's put so one nail, one nail, one nail to put the decorations. And oh, I think I forget one. No, it's okay, it's okay. So after in the end of the intervention, the cleaning was done. So you have applied before retouching, you have applied a protective layer of paralloid B52 in 5% of a stone. So like that, the chromatic reintegration is made in the protective layer and not directly in the painting. Attention, this is possible to do because it's a dry painting. If it was a fresco, it was impossible to do that. And here the chromatic reintegration before and little by little, only our idea is always the same, is to stop with these white areas. If you apply a color or even a neutral color, it's enough to have a good vision of the painting, and it's not necessary to reconstruct the things. The retouching was made with watercolors from Winsor & Newton. Here you can see Glenn retouching, and like in the pulpit, like in the arch, the decorative elements, because they are repetitive, are always the same, were remade, but not in the figurative parts, of course. So here you have the arch already with the second layer of lime and sand already applied. You have made before tests of different sands, different color sands, to find a plaster with a nice color, because my idea was to, like I do normally in Portugal, I prefer a plaster with a nice color, and to not be obliged to apply a color in the new plaster. I don't like that. So you must try with a white sand, a ochre sand, a yellow sand, a red, to find a nice color. This photo is the new plaster is not totally dry yet. And here, in the end of the intervention, the plaster is already dry, totally dry. I think is a problem of my photo. It looks a little bit rose. In the place is not so rose like here. And now you have the final results. This is Mercy, Misericordia, very, very beautiful. Notice that the limit, the lower limit is irregular due to the cut was made, like I showed you before. But in the front, in the Caridad, Charity, no, you have only this plastic thing. Okay, look, after the retouching, after the chromatic reintegration, they are very, very beautiful, these paintings. But the best way to appreciate this painting in the arch is go to the museum. So go to MoCA. Not now because it's closed now, but when it opens, go there, because you must see that in place, not by photos. Well, to finish, I must show you that this is a little chapel in the convent, inside the convent, a wonderful piece. I call her the secret chapel because it's very difficult to see this, because she's fully decorated with a fabulous plaster work, with painting, and with a lot of gold leaf. It's a wonderful piece. But I'm showing you that because I think you are facing the same hand who made the paintings in the arch. I think they are the same. Look, this charity. Remember, in the arch, you have another charity, this one, the Mercy and Charity, and I think is the same hand. The beautiful lady with a lot of decorations in the hair, in the dress, I think is the same painting. So it's a door we are trying to open and to understand more this wonderful collection of mural painting you have in Santa Monica. Look, the cement. This is my biggest enemy, cement. Thank you very much for your patience, and until next time.
Thank you, José, for this lovely presentation and for taking us on this journey of your journey, and making us all go through this journey with you, which was really lovely, of conservation and understanding the paintings and the condition that they were in, and the deterioration over a period of time, damage over a period of time, and the challenges of conservation, and how how you and the team work together to bring this back to life, whether it was the pulpit or the triumphal arch or the arch in the museum, and lastly, the secret chapel, as you call it, in the convent, which of course not many have had an opportunity to see, and it is a project for the future. As we know, the convent has limited access, and we don't know how, but it needs to be done, needs to be conserved, and if not viewed by the public physically, at least through a virtual format, it needs to be worked on. But in the meanwhile, we have the examples that you've conserved of the church and the museum. So I open it now for the question session with José. If anybody would like to ask José any questions related to this presentation, please go ahead. One at a time, preferably. There's Teresa here with us, who's also worked in Goa. Vanessa as well, welcome. And I hope it was a very interesting session, so I hope you all enjoyed. There are so many of us from Goa: Zenobia, Heta, Velma, Ethel, Anthony. David is also here from Portugal. So anybody has any questions for José? No questions? Please go ahead.
I wanted to, I was wondering if the nuns were not so cloistered after all, and that, because we see similar painting in even the Say Cathedral in the arch. The same sort of childlike drawings we see in the Say Cathedral, we also see in the Secret Chapel. So you think
Yes.
perhaps that the nuns were not so cloistered after all, that they were, that they did come out of the convent at some point, or that some artists were admitted into the Secret Chapel to do their work?
So it's highly possible that yes, the nuns were involved, like we discussed even in the last session, Hita. They must have been, involved in the mural decoration of the convent and the various chapels within. But I also think there must have been artists who were also part of this, decoration of the church and the chapels and the convent across old Goa. I'm sure we can also ask Vanessa, who's researching a lot on this, and there are others who are here with us, and on their take on who could have been the ones who were working on these paintings in the chapel and in the convent of Santa Monica.
Hello, Natasha. I don't know. Are you listening to me?
Yeah? Yes, Vanessa, we can hear you.
We are still starting this research. It passed a few years, but we are still starting. We need to study the pigments. And maybe with the pigments we can follow some clues that will enlighten us on the painter who or the group of painters who did it, in studying a little bit more in the archive also.
Okay. So Heta, you can see Vanessa and the team from the university in Lisbon and others who have been involved in the project called Artibus are already in the process of doing some research on the pigments and then trying to understand as much as we can, enlighten us on as to who is that's Vanessa, who these artists possibly were. Whether I'm sure there must have been an intervention from the nuns, but also from various others, and an artist, school of artists who must have been involved in the decoration of these spaces.
Yes. I think undoubtedly there are local artists involved, because it's a Goan art. It has Goan traces, and I think it has Goan artists involved. But we need to study a little bit more to understand that. The engravings used, we already understood, used for this decoration that Pestana showed us. We already have studied that they have Flemish influence.
Yes.
But it's like in Portugal, almost of the paintings have Flemish paintings that inspire, the engravings that inspired these paintings have Flemish influence. So we cannot, we cannot define by this type of inspiration who was the artist. So we need to have a global understanding, not only from the materials, but also from the artistical influences, and on the context also, because it is a very specific context and with high political intention. It's a very important convent that we have. You don't agree?
No, I do agree. It has a lot of factors that we have to take into consideration to come to a conclusion on who were the people working on these.
Yes. I think only the documents can enlighten us in that path. Okay. Because the documents will have names. but we'll have to wait because those specific documents that we are trying to study, they're not in the good state of conservation. So we need to wait for the restoration of these documents. In order for us to read them.
Okay.
So because
thank you so much, Vanessa, for your intervention there. We also have a question, José, for you from Fernando Velho. He says, thank you for a nice talk. And he wants to know if Kavi graffito art is an imported art into Goa. You'll have to unmute, José. We can't hear you. You'll have to unmute the audio. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
First of all, sorry for everybody because I had, in the end, I take a glass of water. I don't know, I have made that. I cut the energy, so I was 5 minutes. And like you know, when we are hurry, the computer looks like very slowly, but okay, it's done. Kavi, I see, for me, Kavi is the most important artistic manifestation in Goa. It's a wonderful technique. It's a fresco technique, I must say. It's the only fresco technique I know in Goa, but I don't know everything. Huh? Only a very small percentage of decorations, but for me it's the best. It looks easy to do, is not so easy, and with a very strong decorative role. And like I told in this little conference, I believe in the beginning, when the Catholic priests arrived, they fall in love also by this kind of decoration. And that's why we found so many Kavi, actually only small fragments, but I think the first decoration in the Goan churches was the Kavi because it's amazing, it's wonderful.
Mm-hmm. So you agree that you feel that it is not an imported art, it was an art that was already prevalent in Goa?
Well, this is a good discussion, but I can tell you, you have the same technique in Europe. Mm-hmm. For example, in the Central Europe, the North, Italy, the Czech Republic, actually Germany, the East, the Oriental part of France, you have a lot of this kind of decoration, but in exteriors. In Spain, you have a lot in the center, Castilla-León, you have a lot of this decoration only, but always in the exterior, in the facades of the buildings. In the center of Europe, the normal is the black and white. The background is black and the motif, the decorative motif is white. So black pigment and lime. In Spain, for example, they use the natural color of the sands. Always the lime, because to have a fresco, you must have lime. If you don't have lime, you don't have a fresco. In Portugal, the most normal is also the black and white, but many exemplars is the natural color of the sands. I know in Portugal only one example of red and white. This is what we found in Goa. The other difference is in Europe, the final work, the graffitos, when it's finished, you have two levels. The white part, the decorative part, is higher, a little bit higher than the background. In Goa, no, you have one level only. It's one difference. The last time I was in Goa, someone told me that the center was Goa, and after all the other examples we found, for example, someone showed me pictures in Karnataka. You have a lot of Kavi decorations, but they think there was people from Goa who went to Karnataka after the invasion by Portuguese and create and transport with them this technique. I don't know. Someone told me that it's possible to see Kavi in the north of India. I never was there, so I don't know. But for me, is the most Goan art is the Kavi. Mural art or mural decorations.
Okay, all right. Fernand, I hope that at least you're satisfied with some kind of an answer there. I'll move on to the next question. That is from, I don't know the name of the person who is Galaxy A7, but I'll take your question now. And he says, thank you for this wonderful presentation. And if we could at some time talk on dating of statues. Wow, I would like that session too, you know, and we have to see, it doesn't just happen over a session. I think it takes a lot of study and time and years of being in a course to understand dating of statues. It's also a lot of experience of constantly looking at statues of various type. I don't know whether José would be able to take this question, but on dating of statues. But from my experience, I think it will be an entire course to understand dating of statues. But I think experience also in a big way, you know, helps. Looking constantly at various statues from various periods, you start to understand the styling of a particular period, and then you start dating it accordingly. But yes, we'll have to, you know, think about this a little more and see who will be apt to do a session just for our understanding, first of all. But again, it is something that we all would like to understand better, dating of statues. Yasser has a question for José where he says, what is the different restoration type of church paintings and rock? What is the difference between restoration of church paintings and rock paintings like Ajanta, which we have in India? What are the differences in the restoration, I think, techniques is what he's asking.
You don't have a big, a big difference. It must important to understand that we don't, conservator and restorer, we don't work with, I don't know the name in English, like you say, okay, to make a cake, you must take, you must look to the paper with the receipt to know how many eggs, how many sugar, how many chocolate you made. So in the conservation is not the same. You don't have one order to apply in everything. First step, you must look to the painting and to understand what are the problems of the painting, what the painting needs to continue to live a little bit more. Don't forget, the paintings don't talk. They don't go to the doctor and say, oh, I have problem here, or I have a pain there. No, we must understand, we must read the painting. And after that, you do the work. But in mural painting, you don't have a very big, you don't have so very big solutions. And if the support is a stone, if the support, when I say support, I say the wall, because in a cave, a painting in the stone, so the stone, the cave is the support of the painting. So the solutions are a little bit the same. They are dry paintings also. To have a fresco, you must have a plaster with lime. So you don't have so big difference between a painting in the stone or a painting in the plaster. No.
Okay, we have a question from Conrad where he would like to know about the retouching that you've mentioned of the murals, which was done with watercolors. what he would like to know is, José, what are the other options for choice of color for these, or paints for these murals?
I'm an old guy, so I like, in the chromatic reintegration, I use only watercolors or tempers. I'm against the use of acrylic colors and things like that. I can say I hate that. What's the good thing in watercolors? It's very easy to work. You can very well control the color because you work only with water, of course. The watercolor gives us a very nice transparency. So the public, if look at the painting with attention, it's very easy for them to see what's the original, what's the retouching parts. So it's important to see that. And it's very easy to remove. If we made a bad thing, so you take a piece of cotton with water and we remove the work. That's why I don't like to retouchings with acrylic things. And the other end, the acrylics are not transparent at all. They are very, 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 very strong. And I don't like the final result of that.
Sorry. All right. So thanks, José, for answering that question. I don't know if we have a few more minutes. Does anybody have any question for me or for José? All right. If there are no more questions, we'll end this session now. And José, thank you once again for this enlightening session. We had Glenn, who was part of this session as well.
Hello, Glenn.
Come on and say hello to Glenn is a very integral part of the team and on conservation and restoration, and also during the works in the museum during the upgradation project that was carried out from 2017 till recently. We discovered some more graffito in the museum hidden under layers of lime, and it was Glenn and Nixon and the BICO team that conserved what was found, and I'm sure you will all get to see what else we have discovered in the museum with Glenn when you come back to the museum, hopefully early next year. But Glenn, you can come on and say hello to the team if you're still here.
Yes.
Say hello to all the participants. They need to see who Glenn is.
It's a pleasure always working with the museum. And of course, yes,
José,
of course, with José. Even while I was in Portugal, he was the one who helped me a lot. And yes, I cannot thank him enough. And even to the participants who have taken part in this session today, thanks a lot, and hope we all meet at the museum.
Yeah, hope we all meet soon at the museum, and to appreciate the work that all of you have done on the conservation. Of course, the church is open to all of you. You can come and see the pulpit mural and the triumphal arch, but definitely the museum early next year you will get to see some of the arch that José and Glenn and team have worked on. So I welcome you all early next year to the museum. But in the meanwhile, if you all are free and in Old Goa, do drop by the Church of Santa Monica. Thank you all. Thank you thanks, everybody for attending this session. And we will keep you posted on the programs for the next few sessions. Whenever we have the opportunity, we will share it with you on our social media. And we do have a new website. I hope you all have all had a chance to look at it, and do share your feedback with us. Thank you all. Have a lovely end of the day and Sunday. For Portugal, have a lovely weekend. Thanks from MoCA.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Thanks.